Philadelphia's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro apparently played a pretty big role in the University of Pennsylvania's response to alleged anti-Semitism on campus. Now we know this thanks to reporting from the Chronicle of Higher Education, and they indicate that Shapiro's role was even more extensive than previously known. Now to be clear, there absolutely were some pretty disturbing and unacceptable instances of anti-Semitism at UPenn. So for instance, Penn's Hillel building was vandalized by an individual shouting anti-Semitic obscenities. A swastika was drawn in a room on campus. A wall next to a Jewish fraternity house was vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti. Violent threats were sent to Jewish community members. Posters hung on campus appeared to satirize the posters of Israelis kidnapped by Hamas. So I think those are pretty good examples of what we absolutely will not defend here at TYT, making Jewish students feel uncomfortable or targeted in any way, unacceptable 100%. Now, with that in mind, Shapiro enters the story, and what he did is he used an old Pennsylvania statute in order to influence the school's actions in response to anti-Semitism on campus. According to the statute, Pennsylvania's governor is allowed to attend and chair any meeting of the university's board of trustees. And the governor is also able to do that because of a non-voting observer seat that they've long been allotted on that board, right? So, as the governor, you have some influence, you have some sway, and he decided to use this statute in order to essentially involve himself in what's going on. So Scott Bach, who's the chair at UPenn's Board of Trustees, stated, "I never saw a governor at a board meeting or even at a kind of board social event or informal meeting or anything like that. A governor of Pennsylvania, as far as I know, has never even appeared, let alone chaired, a board of trustees meeting." But that did change in 2023. So Shapiro ended up appointing a gentleman by the name of Rob Fox, a lawyer and UPenn alum, to be his representative on this board of trustees. Now Fox also, by the way, served as an adjunct law professor at UPenn as well. So Fox was then appointed to the university's task force on anti-Semitism. One member of that task force who spoke on condition of anonymity told the Chronicle of Higher Education, the general concern was around perceived politicization once the governor or someone from his team were to have their hand in it, and that they would push for certain outcomes based on the political hopes and preferences of the governor. In task force discussions, Fox would, at numerous times, make a point of invoking that he was trying to represent the governor's position. And that apparently made the board uncomfortable. But what role did Fox specifically play in this task force? One of the members added that Fox aligned with the faction of task force members who supported the strongest university action against perceived anti-Semitic activity on campus. Documents suggest that throughout the early months of 2024, Fox, in consultation with members of Shapiro's office, pushed the university to ban Penn students against the occupation of Palestine, its main pro-Palestinian student group. So, unless there's some evidence that that student group engaged in anti-Semitic acts on campus, why were they a target here? Is it simply because they're calling out the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian people? Let me give you more.
Of course it is.
Yeah. The governor's office also worked closely with the Penn Israel Public Affairs Committee, a significant pro-Israel group on campus, to a great enough extent that PIPAC effusively thanked Shapiro and Fox for their partnership. So in addition to that, the Chronicle of Higher Education notes that PIPAC? I don't know, PIPAC students sent Fox a list of their desired policies for the university, including but not limited to public punishments for various students at Penn, students against the occupation of Palestine.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of personal experience here. First, I have a nephew who's Jewish who went to college in Philly, not at Penn, but another college. And so I asked him, I said, are you okay? What's going on? He's like, look, the peace protesters are pretty strident. And this was really early on. And he's like, look, I walk around with my Star of David necklace, and I'm proud of it, and I don't let anybody intimidate me. And they're not really looking to intimidate, but they're pretty aggressive about their cause, right? And he's like, and he said the Hillel building was egged, right? So it made him uncomfortable. But I said, do you feel like, is there anything I could do? Do you feel at risk or anything? He's like, no. It's minor. It's annoying, but it's. I can live with it. Now that's just his experience. That's just one student. Other students might have had different experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So does it exist some sort of anti-Semitism expressed in some ways? Yes. I mean, look at those examples, right? Now, is it something that where at Penn, Jews are a small, vulnerable community that it's just like besieged, and at any moment, tremendous violence can break out against it? No, I went to Penn. So I don't know what their percentages are now, but when I went to Penn, Penn was about 50% Jewish. So the idea that like Jewish students are like this tiny, vulnerable community at Penn is absurd and it's counterfactual. So it doesn't mean that you should draw swastikas, right? Or you should do anything anti-Semitic, but no, there's a giant Jewish community at Penn that is perfectly capable of speaking out, defending itself, et cetera, right? And I'm proud of that. Everybody can speak out on whichever cause they like. Oh, sorry, no, that's not exactly right. If you're in favor of Palestinians or peace, then the governor of Pennsylvania will get involved and try to get you kicked off a campus, and you're not allowed to criticize Israel. You're allowed to have any other kind of speech you like, but once you start criticizing Israel or being pro-Palestinian, no. The governor is not going to allow that.
What even is the point of these institutions of higher learning at this point? Where, I mean, speech, depending on who's in power, is obviously going to be, hindered in some way. Look, obviously we've been critical when it happens by people on the left who try to ban certain speakers from being able to speak. But when it comes to censorship as it pertains to criticism of a foreign government and the actions taken by a foreign government, how is this acceptable at all? Again, instances of actual anti-Semitism should be punished. The individuals who engage in said anti-Semitic acts absolutely should be punished. But the idea that pro-peace or pro-Palestinian groups shouldn't even be allowed to exist on campus, shouldn't be allowed to speak, shouldn't be able to speak their piece or share their perspective is ridiculous. In an institution of higher learning, you're supposed to engage in more dialogue, more conversation. It's a perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah, so look, there's-
Unless one side is indefensible. And that's kind of uncomfortable, right? So just shut it down.
Yeah, so look, I think that there's different layers here. So when you do graffiti of a swastika, that's vandalism and definitely should be punished,
and
right?
It's meant to spread.
And it's meant to intimidate.
Exactly.
Right. So and if you do that against black students and you hang a noose or something like that, similar, right? But just words are not punishable and should not be punishable. So when I was at Penn, I started out as agnostic, then I became more into Islam because I took an introduction to Islam class. I've told this story, funny story before on air, but it was an Irish professor who did such a great job of teaching it. And I became more religious in the middle. And then at the very end, I became agnostic again because I read the Quran, the Bible, et cetera, and didn't believe it. But so I had that experience as a Muslim student and as an agnostic student. And so did I get some, unfortunate words about me when I was Muslim? Yes, right? Did I also get it when I was agnostic? Yes, I had an evangelical student tell me that I was gonna burn in hell. And so she was just trying to save me because obviously I was gonna be tortured by Satan because of my beliefs. My beliefs were so offensive and terrible, et cetera, right? So should that be banned? Should the insults I got when I was Muslim be banned? No, we should have freedom of speech on a college campus. You shouldn't say terrible things to Muslim students or Jewish students, but we've got to at least have some sort of speech to get to a right place. Why? Because once you start banning speech, what happens first? You can't criticize the Israeli government. Wait, how did we get there, right? Because the powerful always use it for their own purposes, not to actually protect Jewish students, Muslim students, or any students. And so, guys, it's not that there was no anti-Semitism at all on any of these campuses. It's that whatever existed was used as an excuse to make sure that no one criticized Israel on any of these college campuses. So Governor Shapiro, I don't believe you at all that you were just trying to protect Jewish students. I believe you were trying to protect Israel. And so that is unacceptable, and you should butt out of education because it's a Trump move.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it interesting? Trump goes into these schools and gets lambasted, and he should. It's terrible what he's done. Shapiro does it. Well, I mean, at least he's doing it on behalf of Israel, and he's a beloved Democrat.
I have a better idea. I have a better idea for Governor Shapiro. How about you take a trip to Kensington and take care of your people? How about that?
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.